MB Sports Radio. Mayday.
You know, I'll tell you one thing. There's something to be said for leaving early and also for driving a car made in 1973. Hey, this is Marky Billson, your voice of choice for a new generation of Tri-City sports fans. Name of the program, Tri-City Sports Now. We own the Tri-Cities on 1420 WEMB Sports Radio with the best guests and the hardest-hitting opinions in the market. Best guest today, no exception. Unfortunately, Jerry Bonkowski couldn't make it to talk about the race in Dover, but we will have him on at 1 on Friday. But here's what we got. In just a few minutes, 12:15 or thereabouts, our old friend Teresa Gennaro. And isn't she a delight to listen to? I mean, you know what? Boy, did I sound sexist there? Because I really don't want to, because I think she's a great horse racing reporter. And, well, no, she is a delight to talk to. Just like Caleb Calhoun of allfortennessee.com is a delight to listen to. We're going to talk to him at 12:30 about all things Vols, basketball recruiting. I'm going to talk to you here in just about 2 seconds about what the Tennessee offensive line looks like. And really, I think, yeah, it'll make or break this year, but maybe even the program. Get to that. Caleb's always delight. Hey, he did this wonderful story on allfortennessee.com back on Friday, really supporting me on my decision on the Vols getting rid of the Caravan. And I understand I got some flack for that from people that say, Tennessee can do no wrong. And sadly, there are a lot of those people in the media. But nevertheless, I'm a big boy. And frankly, you know what? More publicity for me. So if you're listening for the first time because of that, welcome. And now you get to see who I really am. Anyhow, that's the case there. And Caleb's going to join me, 12:30. You'll see that I am an allergy sufferer, and I happen to live in East Tennessee, which is the worst place in the world for allergies. Okay, I mean, let's get that out of the way right now. So that's number 2. Number 3, I really love talking to this guy. He's a delight to listen to because it's Vito Stellino, VitoStellino.com. If you're not familiar with Vito, then you don't know the NFL. Simple as that. He's been covering it since the 1960s. He now lives in retirement and still writes about the NFL at VitoStellino.com. I want to talk to him about the draft. He is retired to Jacksonville. His talents took him first to Detroit, then to New York, where he covered the Fran Tarkenton Giants, then to Pittsburgh, where he covered the Chuck Noll Steelers during their heyday, Baltimore, where he covered the Colts in their last 2 years in Baltimore. He then covered the Redskins during their Hogs days, fun bunch, all those guys. And then he went to Jacksonville. And since then, he's been covering the Jaguars since they started in 1995. I think the Jaguars pulled off a steal in the draft by getting Josh Allen. He fell to him. But man, I think so much of Josh Allen. You do too if you're an SEC fan, because you saw what he did at Kentucky, and it was amazing. And I think the Jaguars are going to be tough to beat. Now that they've got also Nick Foles, not Blake Bortles, they've got a better quarterback. We can discuss how good Foles is, but won a Super Bowl. There you go. Also had a year once where he threw 27 touchdowns against only 2 interceptions. Yeah, they're a better quarterback. I'd take Tom Brady over him. I mean, he did beat him in a Super Bowl. I get he's Tom Brady. But that's a guy I think he can win with, Nick Foles. Huh? So I think the Jaguars will be a team coming up. I'm not as sure about the Texans as I once was. Colts could go either way. Titans could go either way, although a lot of people like their draft. So we'll talk a little bit about the AFC South, which he's an expert on, and then a few more conversations after that. We're already talking football, huh? And, the 3-month college football season is 4 months away. But this year may be one of the most important seasons in the history of Tennessee Volunteers football. Program is becoming, if they're not already, the program of yesterday. No conference titles in a generation. No division titles in a dozen seasons. 2 straight losing seasons. Tell me again why they're not Minnesota. Or let's just keep it to the SEC. Tell me why they're not Ole Miss. During the Johnny Vaught days, Ole Miss was sensational. What have they done since then? Here and there. But even then, it's not, I think I can remember Ole Miss ranked number 4 in the country a couple of times. But other than that, all right, let's look over here. Arkansas. I remember when I respected Arkansas just as much as any college football program in the country. I remember Arkansas tying SMU. There's a yesterday's program, not to the point that Tennessee is, certainly. But, yeah, if you want to talk about any program that became yesterday's program, Southern Methodist. Yeah, let's step to the bat there. But anyway, Southern Methodist in 82 challenged for a national title. The only reason they didn't win it is Arkansas tied them last game of the year, regular season. And that pretty much killed their title shot. Finished undefeated. Penn State had 1 loss, but the idea was Penn State had played a tougher schedule, this sort of thing. But anyway, Tennessee has Penn State, would you consider them a team of yesterday? They haven't won a national title in 33 years. Of course, there are 130 teams in college football, and, you got to wait about another century before it's their turn to win it. But, they do have a few advantages that, let's just say, I don't know, Tulane doesn't. We'll go to that here in a little bit. But anyway, I've told this stat, more than half of the teams playing in Big 5 conferences, major college football. You go through the list. Last time Tennessee won the SEC was 98. Go through all the conferences. More than half the teams have won a conference championship since Tennessee has. More than half in major college football. Think about that. Now, the Vols won't win a national title this year. They won't win the SEC. They won't win the SEC East. But they could have a winning record. And although that might be small potatoes for some teams, it's a step in the right direction for Tennessee. Biggest factor for them to do that is going to be, how does their offensive line play? And as it stands right now, it's the biggest question mark the team has. We'll talk to Caleb Callahan at 12:30 about it. Because it's got a potential for greatness. And it also has a potential for ineptitude. Let me go start with the greatness. All right? And, I want you to understand that ourlads.com, they have depth charts of all the college football teams. They do not list a starting right tackle for Tennessee. That's how unknown the offensive line for the Volunteers is. Now, part of that's Drew Richmond is, transferred to Southern California. But even so, they didn't have a number 2 guy to put up on the Ourlads depth chart. Think about that. So, there are 3 players I think the line really hinges on this year. One is Trey Smith. You know him well. A couple of years came in, number 16 prospect in the land. Started until he got blood clots in his lungs, and he hasn't played since. Darnell Wright, he is. I think he might have been he was the only 5-star player in the Tennessee recruiting class of 2019. Came from Huntington High School in Huntington, West Virginia, as opposed to Huntingdon High School in Huntingdon, Pennsylvania. This is Huntington, West Virginia, you see. Anyway, so he's coming in, 5-star, played left tackle for the Hawks. That's what Huntington is called. Then Brandon Kennedy, the Alabama transfer, only played 1 game last year before getting hurt. Now, Smith is the player that, figure to make and break. He's viewed by many as a top offensive line prospect in the country, and when he came to Tennessee, he was an immediate starter, has the look of a future pro, 6'6", 337 pounds, left tackle, but didn't play the last 5 games. Wright, I mentioned to you, 5-star prospect out of Huntington, West Virginia, and I think he was the highest rated player in the recruiting class. Of course, I don't put a whole lot of stock in recruiting classes, but at least I can say, well, okay, the paving contractors, whatever, who rank these people, give him 5 stars. All right, let's see what that's worth, you know. Brandon Kennedy came to Tennessee from Alabama, where he was a backup lineman, immediately became the Vols starting center before suffering a season-ending injury after the first game. Best case scenario. Okay, Wright becomes the starting right tackle. That's easy enough to remember. Smith comes back from injury, but the blood clots, and Heaps plays left tackle, and Kennedy starts at center. And Ryan Johnson, who filled in for him at center last year, goes back to right guard. And then Nathan Niehaus, let's say, he is there to fill whatever is needed, guard or tackle. And then, you've got depth. I think they're talking about 18 players on scholarship right now. Problem with that, Smith, I'm not so sure he's not living off his recruiting ranking. I want you to understand, 7 games that he played in, Tennessee allowed 14 sacks. First 7 games last year. Last 5, they allowed 9. So, Marcus Tatum, who replaced Smith at left tackle, actually gave up fewer sacks per game than did Trey Smith. I wonder how good Brandon Kennedy really is. He comes from Alabama, we get that. But, he never started a game for the Crimson Tide. He actually sat on a bench. More games that he dressed for he didn't play than he did. He played 1 game for Tennessee. He got hurt afterwards, and the Vols lost the 1 game he played in 40-14. Now, I don't have any reason to doubt Wright, but truthfully, in the above scenario, he's playing right tackle based on need. He was a left tackle in high school. And if you want to know what that would be like to change it, think about writing with your other hand. You could probably do it, but it would take a while to learn it, right? And besides, it's one thing to pancake linemen in southern West Virginia who are 100 pounds lighter than you are, and it's another thing to do it just like that in a new position in the SEC. So there are flaws in even the best case scenario for the O-line. But there's enough talent, enough depth. The line can't possibly put up the worst rushing stats in the conference like they did last year when Ty Chandler is running the ball, right? That's the question. That's where the future of the program lies. Hey, if Smith's career is over, if Wright's redshirted or plays like a freshman, if Kennedy isn't good enough or continues to suffer injuries, and he did at Alabama too, then the depth will be affected. If it is a worst case scenario and not a best case scenario, which it has been in recent history. Let's face that fact. Let's face it. Tennessee this offseason lost 4 linemen. That seems like it's a whole... If it is a worst-case scenario for the offensive line, then a losing record is possible. And against this schedule, this isn't South Carolina's schedule. Against this schedule, Georgia State, Chattanooga, the big out-of-conference opponent this year, BYU. That's not West Virginia. That's not Oklahoma. You can't get a winning record on this schedule because of your offensive line of the future of Tennessee football, because it'd be 3 straight losing records. And that can kill you, no matter what you draw, which really isn't that important anymore with all the TV money coming in. You're not Georgia and Florida. You won't be in years. You got to look and wonder, are we Vanderbilt and Kentucky now? Guessing what the production of the offensive line here is nothing short of a crapshoot. Could go either way. Could be tremendous. It could be incompetence. But you know what that means? That means the future of Tennessee football is also a crapshoot. I'm Marky Billson. Speaking of crapshoots, horse racing. What do you think about the Kentucky Derby? I'll be talking about it with Teresa Gennaro, Brooklyn Backstretch, coming up next.